Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Algorand, aka Algo. So let's just dive in and let's start off with this. So in today's video, we are going to be estimating how much Algo you need to become a millionaire in the next major cycle. Now, I want you all to understand, and full on disclaimer, that I am not giving you guys financial advice here, and also the values that I am going to be talking about in terms of Algo may not actually come into realization. We might actually underperform. You never know what is going to happen in this market. I wish that I could tell you guys the future because, hey, then I would be making everyone rich, and it would be incredible. But we don't know what can happen. We don't know what's going to happen. All we know right now is that this market is severely undervalued. So now would be the time to really kind of take advantage of most of the market and really kind of average in, not go all in, and average in when we do have major pullbacks. One asset that I have been looking at, though, is of course Algorand, because not only is the ecosystem continuously blossoming out, but we also just broke down in my video from yesterday how big the Algorand ecosystem is actually truly becoming and the growth of the developer side in terms of transactions. It's a very lucrative asset. So let's actually look into this. So very similar to Hedera, there is a lot of funding being pushed around within Algorand, specifically welcoming in a ton of DeFi, art and music NFTs, gaming, bridges, oracles, and even infrastructure. DeFi, about almost $9 million in grants were awarded, which is incredible. And we are seeing a ton of DeFi, which is hence why we seen about like over 400 million TVL added to Algorand just recently. We do see art and music NFTs as well. This is continuously blossoming. Love the creator economy on Algorand. And then also gaming, about almost $5 million in terms of funding, which you love to see as well. I think that the NFT sector is something that could really kind of boost the value as well as volume to move over Algorand, as well as kind of build out the community a little bit more. Oracles and also bridges. This is great for interoperability between other major networks. And yes, they do have a partnership with Flare. I think that Flare is going to be a pretty big aspect around this as well. Love to see that. And then infrastructure, about almost $7 million. Some pretty nice names here. Love to see a lot more growth as well. I think that going forward we will see a lot more projects added to this, but like I said, the ecosystem is continuously blossoming, and this is just the foundation ecosystem. They do also have on Algorand's website. Let me go to Algorand's website real quick. If you go over here to their official website, not just the foundation website, and go to the ecosystem, first off, you can see the addresses here, you can see the TPS, all that kind of stuff. But if you go to the ecosystem and you go down here to the ecosystem directory, this is where you could see all of the newest projects. You could actually browse it by category as well. You could just view all. If you view all, this is all of the major projects so far on Algorand. And there's a lot more still to be added. There's over 505 projects, by the way. Like I said, this is a project, or I shouldn't even say project, a network that continues to expand rapidly. They have some incredible partnerships as well. I don't know if they list their partnerships over here on their website. I don't think that they do. I think it's more so in like just ecosystem announcements and tech announcements. They also do have a blog where you could read about all of like the partnerships, the ecosystem announcements, all that kind of stuff. Recently, we've been focused on like the FIFA ones. We've been focused on some of the real world applications as well, which is still very substantial, and there's a lot more still left for Algorand. I think that this is also one of those assets that underperformed greatly in the last major bull market, and I think that it's going to make up its grounds. Also, like I said, a lot more NFTs are launching, a lot more ecosystems, markets, etc. are going to expand rapidly on the Algorand network, which is always very exciting. Now let's take a quick look at the price on Algorand. So first off, I will address that the price on Algorand could change rapidly by the time that this video does go live, and I have been looking at a few areas. So one, if we do lose this support range that we have been trading on for a little bit of time, around 25 cents or so. Well, it's actually 23 cents, but we are currently trading at about like 25 cents. if we lose this area of support, then our next major area in terms of the major demand zone would be around like maybe 20 cents or lower. If we retest the March of 2020 lows at about like 13.5 cents, I think that that's going to be a big area. I think that there's going to be a lot of buys in, but pay attention to candle wicks because I think that 18.5 cents could be tested if the market does allow it. Has Algorand already bottomed out? We don't specifically know. That's why we have to take it day by day and really kind of see what's happening. On the daily chart, though, one thing that I have been noticing is the massive on balance volume decreasing. You can see a lot of the sell volume as well. It's adding up. RSI still not at the oversold area just yet, but it is in the roughly 36 area, which is around almost the oversold area, but it hasn't fully bottomed out. I don't believe so, at least in my opinion. But could we already have bottomed? Sure. If you will, it's all on how you want to gauge this. First off, this chart has been pretty bearish. It has been hitting resistance on the daily 200 EMA at about like 44 cents, which is this blue line up here. So far, we have crashed down from that area. This goes all the way back to November 7th, so just recently, and it already crashed down about like 47%, currently sitting at about like 43% down from just that high alone. But nonetheless, let's go back to the 1 week view and really kind of look at this on the zoomed out area. So first off, all-time high. The all-time high for this thing was $3. That's where it hit in the last major cycle run. Now, did this underperform? Comparing it to most of the market, yes, I do think that this did underperform, but it did outperform a lot of the other tokens that we have talked about in the past, like HBAR, but it did push up about a 31x opportunity. I don't know if I think HBAR actually might have performed just as well. I might be wrong on that, but 31x is not too bad. In the next major bull run, though, I could see a much different perspective on Algorand. And what do I mean by that? Well, I have been looking at a few levels on this thing, and I know that a lot of people will target like the 4618 up here at about like $13. Could that very well be a possibility? Sure, it could. But a few levels that I've been looking at, and this is specifically on the log scale fib levels, is right around roughly the. Now, again, a lot of people will say like $14 plus. But what I've been looking at, and this is kind of just gauging off what we recently seen. So let me go back to, it was like right around this level here in March. So when we look at this and we kind of go off of what we have in the most recent price action, what I've been looking at is around like anywhere between $2 and like 35 cents to roughly about like $5, just being my conservative range. Now, does that mean that that's going to be the highest point that we go to? Absolutely not, because what I have been looking at and what I've been gauging as well off of the fib levels on the log scale is right around like the $4.70 zone to about like the $7.47 zone. So anywhere within this range is not too bad at all. But I would say like we need to target the all-time high first, go into price discovery, and then kind of gauge off of what we do see there. I usually like to de-risk once we do go into price discovery after we hit like the first 1618 fib level, which would be about $4.70. But again, most altcoins during the major bull run usually outreach to about like the 4618. Some of them do not, like XRP. So we would have to gauge on what actually happens here. Again, if you are targeting like the $13 range, that's totally fine as well. You can wait till that gets realized in. If we are talking about the X amount in terms of like ROI, then we would be looking at a nice pretty ROI to $13. If we are actually looking at the $13 range, this would be about a $92.2 billion market cap, an upside of about 50x. That is not too crazy in my opinion when we actually look at the market cap of some other major tokens in this space, like even Dogecoin. I know that at $3, this thing was, like I said, pretty undervalued at about a $21.3 billion market cap. This is nothing too crazy to me. If we come down and kind of compare the market cap to some of these other tokens, like even Dogecoin, right now Algorand would be trading at about $1.66, XRP $2.44, BUSD about $3.28, USDC $6.24, BNB $6.35, and then we kind of get into like the okay territory of like the USDT, which would be like $9.36. Just kind of comparing and contrasting a few of what we have seen in the past. What I really looked at and what I have been noticing quite a bit is also like Dogecoin. I've been looking at Dogecoin, and although this is like one of those tokens that did get massively pumped off of just media attention, the one thing that's always interesting to me is where we kind of outreach to going back to the last major cycle run. And even if we look at this, so let me change this to the 1 month chart. And let me get rid of the fib scale. So I like to kind of go off of what we've seen in the past on some of these tokens, specifically like the 2017-2018 bull run, going off of the high and going off of the low of like the March of 2020 point. You can kind of see that we've outreached well beyond the 8 fib level. It's kind of crazy how much this has outperformed most of the market participants in terms of some of the, high tier tokens. What I've been looking at though on this one as well is the log scale. So when we go to the log scale fib levels, we can kind of see that this outreach right between the 1618 and the 2618, which is pretty substantial when you actually look at the price valuations of what Algorand would be at if we did outreach to those, fib levels. Which will we do that? Just kind of comparing and contrasting it to Dogecoin. It's hard to say because again, like that would be between some significant numbers up here, which is not technically the way that we should be looking at this. What I would be more conservative about is where we can go to, like $14.46 could be something pretty interesting to me because at $14.46 we would be, or sorry, let me go to $14.46. At this range, it would be about a $102.6 billion market cap. If we are looking at Dogecoin, Dogecoin did outreach to about, and this is on Binance by the way, about 76.73. Just to put that into perspective, Dogecoin hit 76.73, I believe. That was the number, 76.73. Yeah, so 76.73. Now, of course, this is off mainstream media attention and hype. It hit about 105 or actually just $105 billion market cap. Algorand at $105 billion market cap would be trading at around roughly $14.79, an upside of about 57x. Now, it's all different on how you look at it, and perspective-wise, it could be completely different just in general, but when we look at some of the lows, some of the highs on Dogecoin, it has been pretty significant to watch. Sorry, I did not mean to go to Coinbase. I wanted to go to Bittrex. I don't know if this is going to load. So there we go. So a lot of these exchanges are a little bit different on how they gauge on where Dogecoin did come down to price range. And what I have been looking at as well is like the differences between exchanges, because every single candle wick is different on most exchanges. But I also have been looking at this in comparison to Casper as well. And we even looked at this in the past and really kind of gauged on how outreached or how overbought Dogecoin actually was. And if we are looking at like the last 8 fib level, which again going off of Algorand again, just kind of comparing and contrasting this. I'm not saying that this is guaranteed to happen, but this would go to about like $22, which would be insane to say the least. Now, what I have over here is a full breakdown on some of the prices that I think are more conservative, more realistic, and the last one is about $14.09, which would be a $100 billion market cap. Now, is $100 billion market cap easily achievable? No, not necessarily. That's why I say, like, some of these tokens you can kind of compare and contrast. Like Dogecoin is something that had mainstream media attention, but when we go and look at some other tokens, like even so Coinbase actually listed it late. For an example, like ADA with Cardano, this one was a little bit different. Like as you do see, like going off of the macro level here, this thing outreached to roughly the 2.272. Now, going off of that and kind of looking at, so I actually don't have that labeled on this fib level, so let me go to the 2.272. So the 2.272 would be about $6.51. I think that that's actually very conservative, and I think that that is something that's a little bit more logical, this would be about a $46.2 billion market cap. This would be about a 24x. Now, I know that this might not be as lucrative to some people, but you got to remember that Algorand is already in the top 50. You don't get generational wealth or anything like that off of investing into the top 50. A lot of them have already ran. But if we are talking about that $6.51 zone, could we even outreach to like about $7.05? Sure, we could. But to get to $1 million, you would need a significant amount of money invested into Algorand to actually achieve that $1 million goal. For an example, I have at $14.09, and this is a high risk. Like, this is a high risk price because $14 might not actually happen in the next major bull run, and you might miss out on a huge opportunity. And I actually noticed that I have the price per Casper up here. It's actually Algo. But nonetheless, the $14 range, you could hit $1 million if you invested like a significant amount, which would be like $20,000. I would argue that the better proposition here is that if you have $20,000 to invest in this market, to diversify, because diversifying during this time, you could actually hit like a 10 or even a 100x on another asset and reinvest into an asset that didn't run, maybe like Algorand. Like, maybe Algorand is a little bit late to the party. Maybe it's not going fully parabolic. Maybe it kind of spiked up, but then now it's kind of recorrecting, or whatever the case may be, right? And again, just kind of going off of a few things, price perspective, even if we're going off of the full macro view here, right? Because, like, again, a lot of these are the macro view. Um, like Algorand did do a perfect run during 2021 into November, because this was a nice significant gain, even going all the way back here to March of 2020. Like, these prices were pretty significant. It was like a 30x opportunity. So when we look at like the macro, when we look at where Algo could go, do I think that it could go to $14? Yeah, but we don't know the time frame on that. I would argue that $6 to $7 is a lot more conservative, but you would need a significant amount invested. And again, a lot of altcoins do significant gains, but to really kind of look at this and say, okay, well, I think $14, an upside to 54x on Algorand, which is already in the top 50, is going to be, it's going to happen. But it just doesn't happen like that. Do I think that Algorand will perform greatly? Yes, yes, I do. And I think that the gains on it are still significant. I mean, at $6, this is a 22x opportunity. At $7, this is a 26 opportunity. That's a significant gain. I mean, like, it all depends on how much money you have to invest. I would never go into an asset all at once with like $20,000. I would never go all in on an asset with higher amounts than like maybe $3,000. I usually at that point DCA. And what I mean by that is like, okay, well, if an asset like Algorand, for example, is trading at 25 cents, I'll put a little bit in at 25 cents. If it drops down a little bit, I will put a little bit more in. Maybe it kind of pumps up. Maybe it hits resistance. I'm like, okay, well, it hit resistance, so I'll just wait for a pullback and I'll buy the pullback. I will never buy when something is massively pumping up, or, when things are uncertain in the market. I would more so like to buy when we do see a big weekly red candle like this, where everyone's hope is completely lost. Like, this would be a good time to really kind of gauge the risk value proposition on something like Algorand and be like, okay, well, I think that the upside on this is going to be pretty good, because we're here to make money. We're not here to make $1 million on just one play, because it's going to be a combined total of the amount that we make off of multiple investments. And Algorand definitely is one that is a high tier on my list, but do I think that it's going to be easy to make $1 million off of Algorand short term? Not technically. Long term, it could be, because I think that Algorand is going to continue to grow and expand, but I would argue that you could miss out on some of the most lucrative investments in this market if you're just going to utilize Algorand as your main investment vehicle. Again, I always stress the fact that like the top 100 are not always going to be the easiest to make life-changing wealth off of, because they are already majorly pumped up. You still might make some gains, but you're also betting on a massive amount of money pouring in. Do I think that Algorand is extremely overbought? Do I think that it's, one of those assets that are not going to make a lot of gains? Not necessarily. I just think for it being in I forgot where it even is on the market cap. So it's at number 30 already with a $1.8 billion market cap. Again, like this is not too bad for gain wise, but I just don't think that's gonna net you a 100x this bull run. I think that a 100x, a lot of people under. I think that a lot of individuals in the space kind of undervalue what a 100x opportunity actually is. Like a 100x opportunity in the space is still pretty rare. A 10x is a little bit less rare, and it is more common among a lot of these tokens, especially the top 100, just to kind of give you guys that insight. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As I hope that you all have a beautiful day, a beautiful night. Wherever you guys are on this before, this has been Nick. Peace out, guys.